Okay, so another Sunday.
Easter Sunday.
It is Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to everybody. Resurrection Sunday, important date on the Christian calendar.
Very important.
Arguably the most important.
Thank you, Jesus.
Indeed. So today we're going to be discussing genocide. I know that there's a lot of controversial discussions going on regarding this topic in particular, and I think it's a good time to actually talk about it, considering what is happening
In South Africa.
Yeah, I do know
but
that obviously.
also worldwide.
Yeah, in South Africa as well. I do know that there's obviously a lot of misinformation about it. There's a lot of talking heads that are saying things that are, well, as we'll probably find out shortly, factually untrue. Yeah, and I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed.
Yes.
In light of everything that's happening. So yeah, I think without further ado, let us get into it. Just beginning with the first point, I do know that social media platforms are going to go ahead and probably under this video itself, I suppose there's going to be a little link to the Wikipedia page about how white genocide is a conspiracy theory. So I think I've decided to go ahead and beat them to the punch. And I'll go ahead and share the actual Wikipedia page that they'll probably redirect to under this video. So this is the Wikipedia page that they will probably redirect to. Just for the sake of time, if you're really interested, you can go ahead and read everything. But according to the Wikipedia page, white genocide is a political myth based on pseudoscience, pseudo-history, and an ethnic hatred. And is driven by psychological panic and often termed white extinction anxiety. Objectively, white people are not dying out of facing extermination. The purpose of the conspiracy theory is to justify a commitment to a white nationalist agenda in support of calls to violence.
So, alright, I just want to bring up something here. So, if it's a myth, and you can physically see the amount of people that got murdered, were those ones a myth? Every life lying there.
Exactly.
How dare you?
Yep.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly. And you look at throughout history.
Yes.
Are you going to go ahead and say that what happened in Russia was a myth?
China.
Are you going to go ahead and say China? Are you going to go ahead and say Nazi Germany? Are you going to make these claims? You know, people wouldn't dare, for the most part, to say all of that was a myth. Arguably, weirdly, you hear the stirrings of, oh no, the Holocaust was a myth. It wasn't. You know, it's weird that you are going to criticize, interestingly, two races. White people and Jews. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but generally white people and Jews tend to be the canary in the coal mine and tend to be the ones that are, they're just playing the victim. Because I think for the most part, people, you know, in this current day and age that we find ourselves, they've got this misconception that the white people and the Jews are always the ones that are pulling the strings behind, you know, the velvet curtain, so to speak, and they're the masterminds behind it all. the logic doesn't stick. So then you're basically asserting that the whites and the Jews are the culprits behind their own people getting exterminated.
Yeah.
And then you want to call us the conspiracy theorists. I would say maybe you need to look at your own worldview and consider maybe you're the conspiracy theorist if you want to go ahead and make those kind of claims.
When living conditions worsen and the economy fails, people try to find reasons for their troubles. This is when political extremists can become popular, as they blame certain groups of people and promise that by getting rid of them, society's problems will go away. This can lead to the deliberate elimination of those who are different because of their race, religion, sexuality, or disability, a phenomenon known as genocide. The 10 stages of genocide are a framework for understanding how crimes against humanity happen, so we can spot early warning signs and potentially prevent them. Stage 1 is classification. Extremists divide people into separate groups based on their different characteristics. This often happens to create an us versus them mentality or to find someone to blame for social problems. The second stage.
Okay, so I suppose under stage 1, what I've decided to do is I've just pulled up this form here. This is a form, an application form if you would want to apply for any kind of employment within the government. It's the Z83 form. If you scroll down to the section where it says race, you've got 4 options to choose from: African, white, colored, or Indian. It's interesting to note that there's no black here under race, so obviously that would fall under the African heading. It's interesting as well, so therefore that means that the whites, coloreds, and Indians are probably not considered as African.
Yes.
So
Well, as far as they reason.
Yeah, so I just think as well then, according to the video, I think you could definitely tick that off as, there is definitely some form of classification that they've clearly decided to stipulate.
Okay, and then what are you going to put in the 4th line? Go one down? Down. No, not down. If no, what is your nationality?
Well, yeah, I suppose that's it as well. Yeah.
What do you say there?
Yeah. And then obviously also considering the classification, I think you could also lump the economy fails, and the go-to response is obviously always apartheid, so that could be deemed as another form of the classification.
Stage is symbolization. This involves assigning symbols or names to members of the other group. The goal here is to split the society and make it clear who belongs to who.
Here is an instance of a derogatory term. Well, they were never classified as a derogatory term these days, because now, according to them, the Mlungu simply just means white person. But it wasn't necessarily always the case, as this article mentions. The term Mlungu, originating from isiXhosa language in South Africa, has undergone a fascinating evolution reflecting the complex socio-historical context of the country, initially referring to shipwrecked white individuals as sea scum deposited by the ocean. The word took on varied meanings over time. During colonial times, it evolved to describe white people and even magicians due to cultural interactions and the awe-inspiring technology witnessed by local leaders like Shaka Zulu. And then you can carry on reading. The point here, I think, is to make you always look at what a word meant first.
Yes.
whatever a word meant first was generally the one that people actually know to be true.
Yeah.
And I think this is just one instance. I mean, we're going to see later, our friend Nota Beloy classifies us as Neanderthals and classifies us as subhuman.
We're so clever.
And all of these sort of things. So I just find that interesting.
Third is discrimination. The dominant group uses its power to deny others certain rights or privileges. Particular new laws may limit the freedom of the marginalized ones. Instances of bullying increase and the societal divide widens.
So under discrimination, you can go onto this website yourself. This is racelaws.co.za. Here we can see that there's currently 142 racial acts of parliament that are in operation today. This in conjunction, obviously, with BBBEE, what an acronym, Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment is what it stands for, as well as you've got affirmative action as well. So in terms of discrimination, I think you can clearly see that there is a lot of regulations within the law that do definitely discriminate.
Yeah, and how many lives are changed actually because of that? Very few are actually making it, and millions aren't.
Yeah.
Fourth is dehumanization. The targeted group is portrayed as less than human, often compared to animals or diseases. Stripping away the human qualities of a person makes it easier to justify violence against them.
Okay, so I think for stage 4, we alluded to it earlier, but we can go ahead and bring it up now as well. Because the most recent event would probably be Nota Beloy, and all his racial slurs that he's become quite famous now for. He's made mention here. This is just an article that I pulled up. What did he say? In an episode of the Hustlers Corner podcast, I suppose you can go check that out yourself, Nota Beloy made several racist comments. Speaking to DJ Spoo, he said, "The problem that South Africans have right now is that we don't understand white people." Well, please enlighten us, Nota. White people are an inferior species to us. We are Homo sapiens, and they've got Neanderthal blood in them. Amazing. This is science that was done by them. They studied this, and they realized that they were inferior to us. So we're the ones that we came up to the conclusion that we are in fact inferior to black people, and I suppose then by default to all races probably. I mean, we're probably the worst of the worst, I suppose.
And logically, if you thought or believed that you were really superior, Noita, why didn't you find out this? So you are still listening to the white man.
Yeah. Once again, listening to the white man. Interesting.
Fifth is organization. This stage can involve violent mobs that are tolerated by the ruling class, or even the creation of state-sponsored militias. In some instances, perpetrators now carefully start to plan the next steps of the genocide.
Okay, so the next one is aimed at white people. So if white people murder one black person, they're gonna kill 5 white people.
Yeah. I know this guy was, I don't know his name, but I know he's the BLF president. I think it's one of the parties here in South Africa. We've got so many of them. But yeah, you can probably search it online and find the actual video yourself, where he's doing this chant ready to, I think it's a stadium or something like that, of thousands of people getting cross about something. And yeah, that is basically the slogan. He said, "You kill one black person, we will kill 5 white people." Another instance regarding this stage is probably quite the famous one. Julius Malema, leader of the EFF party, sang this "Kill the Boer" chant to the FNB stadium, I think it was.
Yes.
The protest was at, or some rally or something like that, and he was talking about killing the Boer, kill the farmer, pow pow, bang bang, whatever they say.
But it's not hate speech.
Exactly, yeah. And you can read this article yourself. He led a packed FNB stadium in belting out the song at the EFF's 10th birthday celebration on Saturday. I think this was a couple of Saturdays ago. It's angered some quarters, with the Democratic Alliance saying it will complain to the UN's Human Rights Council. But regardless, I suppose that doesn't matter because it is not hate speech. Yet, I suppose I find that quite interesting, considering should the tables be reversed, and should that be said by a white person, I think media would be up in arms. And they would certainly go ahead and say that is considered hate speech. Also, that's not considered racist, yet if a white person had to say it, it would be considered incredibly racist. That's considered a metaphor, yet if a white person had to say it, it would be taken quite literally.
Yeah. And that's the problem with speech. We have to have free speech.
Yeah.
And feelings are ruling.
And it's one thing to have free speech, but it has to be recognized as there's free speech with accountability.
Oh, yes.
This, unfortunately, is free speech.
Yes. But, I mean, this, could lead to really murder of millions and millions of people.
Kill the Boer, kill the farmer. Unfortunately, that is clearly happening.
And I refuse to be upset that I happen to be white.
Yeah. And
I will not say I am sorry.
And technically from Afrikaans descent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sixth is polarization. Extremists now demonize the targeted group and try to fully divide society by demanding that everyone must take a side. Moderators who want to reduce the tensions are often identified as enemies and silenced.
So this one here, this was when AfriForum decided to go to Donald Trump earlier this year to speak about, I suppose, for many reasons, but I suppose the main one was probably expropriation without compensation.
Yes.
Would probably be one of the highlights, as well as the refugee program.
Yeah.
They were lambasted across both international news and, more to the point, South African news. These are some of the headlines, I suppose, you can read about. South Africans have accused AfriForum of treason after the organization supported Donald Trump's claims. The United States of America's president claimed that the South African government was confiscating land, which, well, it kind of is, isn't it? AfriForum also stated it would appeal to Trump to punish senior leaders of the African National Congress.
What I find hypocritical, ANC flies all over. Russia, China, Iran.
Yep.
What are they saying?
Seventh is preparation. The criminals now plan for mass murder. They may identify victims by name or number, find where they live, and acquire weapons or build facilities to aid their efforts.
This is one where we could probably put in the farm murders.
Yes.
I suppose this is one of the steps that would be classified under the farm murders. We'll attempt to put a link in the description to a documentary that Katie Hopkins made. It was about 6 years ago that she made this documentary. Plaasmoorde. Plaasmoorde is the name of the documentary, and that really goes into depth.
Yeah. It's actually killing fields.
The killing fields, I suppose, would be the English equivalent to it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that is quite a graphic illustration. Well, a graphic truth about actually what's happening in South Africa regarding white farmers specifically, but also the workers that work on the farm. It's unfortunately not limited to simply white people that are dying. It's black on black violence as well.
The ones working on the farm, sometimes they actually go along with it, and sometimes not.
Yeah.
And because of that, she was actually banned
from South Africa. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She's not allowed to come back.
Yeah.
Eighth is persecution. Violence escalates. The targeted group is systematically subjected to harassment, displacement, or other forms of abuse. Often all of that happens under the disguise of security measures.
I think in this regard, you could really, I suppose one of the aspects would be blaming apartheid for this.
Yes.
You can kind of see that as a type of persecution, to fit the stage 8 persecution one.
And whatever goes wrong in my life is because of white people.
Yeah, it's white people are to blame for all the disadvantages that black people face. So apartheid would fall into that, lack of infrastructure because of apartheid. Yet, more to the point, it's the fact that the current ruling party hasn't maintained that which was, funnily enough, built under apartheid. They haven't managed to manage it. They haven't been able to maintain it. They've chosen not to maintain it.
And if things do actually wear and tear out, because that is the way, rust and
moth and rust. I mean, it's talked about in the Bible. This is part of a sinful world. Things tend to atrophy. It's one of the things. But yet you'll blame atrophy, a sinful, normal cause now under sin. You'll blame white people and apartheid because of that. I think also like colonialism would probably also fall into the persecution stage as well. The land being taken away.
Yeah.
You could probably put BEE or BBBEE into this as well as affirmative action. I think that's also a case for the persecution stage as well.
Ninth is extermination. The mass killing begins. The culprits view their victims as less than human, believing they are cleansing the world of an undesirable element, and in doing so justify the use of disproportionate violence.
I suppose you're considered less than a human. You're being distinguished with a certain race. A lot of the fear has kind of, there's no fear regarding white people.
And that
as such.
fear turns into absolute hatred.
Yeah,
I don't want you near me. I don't want you around me.
I think the fear has turned into more disgust. So you can be, there's a one thing to be an arachnophobe, having a fear of spiders.
Yes.
Because there's a certain amount of respect that comes with being
With
an arachnophobe,
fear, yeah.
or whatever the case, because you have no idea if that's a poisonous spider or not. But as you can see in, I suppose, the most notable one, notable one would be Nota Beloy, where, you know, he classifies us as subhuman, he classifies us as, you know, an inferior species to them. So that kind of breeds that whole, not a fear thing at all, but more a disgust thing. Because somehow, according to their understanding, we are the subhuman species that is apparently in leadership, which is not the case at all. You know, I have no doubt that there is, unfortunately, you know, a few white elitists out there, but most of these white elitists are behind the funding of certain things that are detrimental to the whole country as a whole.
Yeah.
But you know, to the point, it's more this disgust that causes people to want to lead into the final stage.
10th is denial. Those responsible for the cruelty deny their crimes, destroy evidence, blame the victims, and attempt to rewrite history, justifying their actions as necessary for the greater good.
Because all the stages, I think they would all have an aspect of stage 10, which would be the denial. Throughout every stage, you need some kind of denial about the fact that you hold to this worldview, you hold to this this ideology. And a notable one would be from the president himself. We can go ahead and play this clip. This is in regards to the farm murders, and you can obviously go check this out yourself. Just to give a bit of a backstory, this is in regards to when he was talking with President Trump, or I think he was busy making mention of an interview that he had with President Trump. This is just on fact check. No, Ramaphosa did not call for farm murders, a problem that only exists on the internet. So that's obviously the claim.
We were seated together at the lunch table, so we never really got time to talk about the tweet. It was just an opportunity to shake hands, to say how are you and all that. But on the tweet itself, he was clearly misinformed. And whoever gave him that information was completely wrong. There are no killings of farmers or white farmers in South Africa. There are no killings of farmers or white farmers in South Africa. There's no land grab in South Africa. We are involved in a process of discussing land reform.
So, to wrap it up, I suppose, in terms of all the stages, and once again, they're not linear. Some stages can happen before others. You know, this is just kind of the 10 stages and what they kind of entail, but they can obviously be interchangeable. One can happen at a certain time and then another can happen at another time. But that was basically just a brief breakdown on the 10 stages of genocide.
And to have a person like him that openly lies and that actually won't actually stand up for the people here.
Yeah.
I am talking about every single race here is just absolutely shocking to me. That you can't say, let us all just work together, moving forward. And really, it's so simple to hate. It really and truly is.
Yeah.
But to actually see whether you white, black, brown, whatever, to actually see value there. Yes, it is hard work.
Yeah.
Because just like this, I could really become racist.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's something that we all have to look at within ourselves, and that's why I think, once again, Christianity has the answer.
Yes, yeah.
Christians have been living at peace with other Christians for thousands of years because of the principles that have been laid down in the Bible and the teachings that Jesus Christ, God, taught, and they have made pretty much the West what it is.
Yeah.
Prior to its downfall. But
Yeah.
yes, and not just the West, but I mean, Christianity has a tend to make things flourish.
Yeah. And if we just took the basic, the bare minimum of the 10 commandments,
Would be, yeah.
we'd be winning.
Yeah.
We'd be winning.
And follow them to the letter would be off
Yeah.
to a pretty good start. But
Yeah.
yeah.